Commander Elias Vorn stood on the balcony of the Grand Palace on Jurak, looking out at the glowing city below. The sky was a deep purple, filled with distant stars and the bright lights of flying ships. This was his first time on this strange planet, and everything felt new and exciting. Elias was Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, a group of many different planets and species working together for peace. He had traveled far from home for this celebration. Tonight, the King of Jurak was hosting a special event to honor heroes, those who had saved lives or helped the galaxy in important ways. Elias did not expect to be a hero. He was just doing his duty during a recent attack on the palace. The attackers wanted to kidnap the king's family, but Elias had fought them off with the help of some loyal guards. It was a dangerous night, but the royal family was safe. Now the king was ready to thank Elias in a way that shocked everyone. The doors behind Elias opened, and a tall figure appeared. King Zorun was not like any king Elias had seen before. His skin was a deep green, covered in smooth scales that shined in the palace lights. His eyes glowed like fire, and sharp horns curved from his forehead. Despite his fearsome look, there was a kindness in his voice as he spoke. "Commander Elias Vorn," the king said, stepping forward. "You have saved my family and my people. For this I offer you a great honor." Elias nodded, unsure of what the king meant. The king gestured, and a figure appeared beside him. It was a young woman, his daughter, Princess Thalara. Elias looked at her and immediately noticed why the Galactic Council often laughed when they spoke of the Jurak royal family. Thalara was unlike any princess from the stories told across the galaxy. Her skin was covered with tough, dark scales. She had 2 large tusks that curved out from her lower jaw, and her bright gold eyes seemed to glow in the dim light. Her face was fierce and strong, but not what most would call beautiful. By the usual standards, the room fell silent. Many of the other guests whispered and exchanged looks. King Zorun spoke again. "Commander, as a sign of my gratitude, I offer you my daughter's hand in marriage. This is an old tradition of our people. The warrior who protects the royal family earns the right to join it." Elias blinked. Marriage? To this princess? He felt the eyes of the Galactic Council members on him, some filled with surprise, others with amusement. Elias knew the truth. Many thought he was foolish for accepting. After all, Thalara was not beautiful by galactic standards. The council often mocked the Jurak for their strange looks and customs, but Elias had always believed in honor and respect. He stepped forward and bowed his head slightly. "I accept, Your Majesty," he said clearly. A few voices around the room laughed quietly. Princess Thalara looked at Elias with a hard stare. She was used to people reacting to her this way, with fear, disgust, or ridicule. But Elias looked at her differently, not with pity, but with respect. "Very well," she said, her voice calm but strong. "If this is your choice, then so be it." The king smiled. "Then it is decided. Prepare for the ceremony." As the guests continued to whisper, Elias took a deep breath. He knew this was only the beginning of a difficult journey. Later, alone, in his room, Elias thought about the decision. He had married many political alliances before, but never like this. Marrying a princess who many called ugly was unheard of for a human diplomat. Still, Elias did not care about appearances. What mattered was loyalty, strength, and trust. He remembered the night of the attack, how Thalara had fought bravely alongside him. She was not weak. She was fierce. Elias smiled softly. Maybe the galaxy was wrong about her. The next morning, Elias met Princess Thalara again, this time outside in the palace gardens. The air was fresh, and strange plants with glowing flowers surrounded them. Thalara was not smiling, but Elias noticed a spark of curiosity in her eyes. "You have surprised many," she said. "Not many would accept this marriage. Humans are known for their pride." Elias shrugged. "I do not care about pride. I care about honor." Thalara studied him for a moment. "We shall see if your honor holds." For the first time, Elias felt a connection with the princess. not because of tradition or duty, but because both of them were outsiders in this vast galaxy. "Tell me about your world," Thalara said, her voice softer. Elias began to describe Earth, its blue oceans, tall trees, and the diversity of people who live there. As he spoke, Thalara's fierce expression softened. "You speak as if your world is full of life and hope," she said quietly. "It is," Elias replied. "And I believe that hope can reach every corner of the galaxy." Back in the palace hall, the Galactic Council members continued to whisper and chuckle. They did not believe this union would last. How could a human and a Jurak princess ever understand each other? The idea seemed ridiculous, but Elias and Thalara paid little attention. They were beginning to build something stronger than appearances: trust. And the galaxy was about to learn that sometimes what looks ugly on the outside can hide the greatest strength within. The morning sun rose slowly over the purple mountains of Jurak, casting long shadows across the palace gardens. Commander Elias Vorn stood near a shimmering fountain, waiting for Princess Thalara. Today marked the first official day of their unusual marriage, and the eyes of the entire galaxy seemed to be watching. Thalara appeared, her tall figure moving with quiet grace despite her fierce appearance. Her gold eyes met Elias's steady gaze. She wore a simple robe, but even without the royal jewels, her presence was powerful. "Come," she said, turning without hesitation. Elias followed her down winding paths lined with glowing flowers. The palace servants kept their distance, whispering and staring. Many did not understand why Elias had accepted this marriage. To them, it was foolishness, a human marrying a princess they called ugly. But Elias did not care. In the Great Hall, the Galactic Council representatives gathered for a meeting. Many of them whispered and laughed behind their hands. "Why would a human accept such a match?" one counselor sneered. "It is beneath him." "Perhaps he is blind," another said, smirking, "or easily fooled." Their laughter echoed through the marble hall. Back in the gardens, Elias tried to speak with Thalara, hoping to bridge the gap between them. "Princess, I want to understand your world better," Elias said gently. "Tell me about your people." Thalara's expression hardened. "Why would I speak to the one who the council mocks, to the one who brings shame by marrying me?" Elias looked at her calmly. "Because I do not see you as others do. I see strength and courage. You fought beside me to protect your family, that is what matters." Thalara's eyes flickered with surprise. No one had ever spoken to her with such respect. Most treated her like an outcast. "I have lived with their scorn all my life," she said softly. "They judge me by my appearance, not by what I can do." "Then let me help change their minds," Elias said firmly. "Together." For a moment, the fierce princess seemed to hesitate. Then she nodded. That evening, Elias and Thalara attended the council's banquet. The great hall was filled with representatives from many planets, tall and short, feathered and scaled, glowing and shadowed. Yet all eyes were on the new human princess and her husband. Whispers filled the room as the two moved through the crowd. Some guests barely hid their smiles. Others stared openly. One elder counselor approached Elias with a cold smile. "You must understand, human, that marriage to a Jurak princess is no honor. It is a burden." Elias met his gaze without fear. "I am honored to stand with her. Together, we will show what true strength means." The counselor scoffed, but said no more. As the days passed, Elias and Thalara learned more about each other's worlds. Thalara taught Elias how to read the complex politics of Jurak. She showed him how her people valued courage, loyalty, and strategy over beauty. Elias shared stories of Earth and of teamwork, invention, and hope. He told her about humanity's struggles and triumphs, about how humans often had to prove themselves in a galaxy that doubted them. Thalara began to respect the human who stood by her side, not despite her looks, but because of who she was inside. One afternoon, as they walked through the royal library, Thalara confided in Elias. "There is much you do not know," she said quietly. The council is not kind to those who do not fit their perfect image. They mock me, but worse, they plot against my family. Elias frowned. Plot? Against the king? Yes, she replied. There are factions who want to seize the throne. They think my appearance makes me weak. They underestimate me. Elias placed a reassuring hand on her arm. Then we will show them they are wrong. Together. Their growing bond did not go unnoticed. Some Jurak nobles began to look at Thalara differently. If the human accepted her, maybe she was not as alone as she thought. But there were still enemies watching. Late one night, Elias overheard voices in the palace corridors, whispers of rebellion and betrayal. The royal family's safety was still at risk. He returned to Thalara's chambers and found her studying a star map. "Wedio." "Must be ready," she said without looking up. "The council's laughter hides dangerous secrets." Elias nodded. "Then we face those secrets together." Over time, what began as a marriage of duty turned into a partnership of equals. Elias admired Thalara's fierce intelligence and unwavering loyalty. Thalara saw in Elias a rare kindness and courage that the galaxy had not expected from a human. Together they were more than the sum of their parts. As the galactic Unsul continued to whisper and mock, Elias and Thalara prepared for the challenges ahead. They knew that the galaxy's eyes were upon them, watching, judging, waiting to see if this strange union would crumble or stand strong. Elias smiled to himself. They would show the galaxy something new. That strength comes not from looks or tradition, but from respect, courage, and the willingness to stand together. Days passed quickly in the palace on Jurak. Commander Elias Vorn and Princess Thalara spent many hours together, learning more about each other's worlds and hopes. But beneath the calm surface, dark shadows were growing. One evening, as the twin moons of Jurak rose high in the sky, Thalara invited Elias to a private chamber deep within the palace. The room was lined with old scrolls and star maps, the walls echoing with the quiet hum of ancient knowledge. "Elias," she said softly, "there is something I must tell you. Something important." Elias looked at her carefully. "You can trust me." Thalara's gold eyes glowed with seriousness. "The Jurak Empire is not as strong as it seems. Many believe the king rules with power and wisdom, but the truth is more fragile." Elias nodded, waiting for her to continue. "There are factions within the Galactic Council," she said, "who want to see my father's rule end. They believe that my family's strength is tied only to tradition and appearance. Because I do not look like others expect, they think we are weak." She paused, searching Elias's face. "But they are wrong, more than wrong. They are dangerous." Elias's jaw tightened. "What do you mean?" Thalara stood and walked to a star map on the wall. Her clawed finger traced a route between the planets. "I have found evidence of a secret group planning to overthrow my father. They want to take control of Jurak and the council." "Why would they do this?" Elias asked. "Power," she said simply. "The throne of Jurak is one of the most important in the galaxy. Whoever controls it controls many systems. They believe that by removing my family they can change everything." Elias looked down, thinking, "This is bigger than I thought." Thalara's voice grew stronger. "It is. And the worst part? Some of the council members we call friends are part of this plan. They pretend to welcome us, but they watch and wait." Elias's eyes narrowed. "Then we need to act quickly. How can I help?" Thalara smiled faintly. "You have already helped by standing beside me. That is more than anyone else has done." Elias felt a warmth in his chest. He had never felt more needed. That night, Elias and Thalara began to plan. They worked by the light of a holographic table that showed ships, armies, and locations across the galaxy. "We need allies," Elias said. "People who trust us and want peace." Thalara nodded. "Some of the Jurak nobles are loyal. They fear the traitors as much as we do. Then we find them," Elias said, "and we prepare to protect your family." Days turned into weeks as the two worked tirelessly. They met secretly with loyal commanders, studied messages from the council, and gathered proof of the betrayal. Throughout it all, Elias was amazed by Thalara's sharp mind and courage. She was not the ugly princess others mocked. She was a leader, strong, smart, and fearless. One afternoon, Elias stood in the royal training grounds watching Thalara spar with a group of guards. Her movements were quick and powerful, each strike precise. The guards struggled to keep up. When the fight ended, Thalara turned to Elias and smiled. "Not bad for a human diplomat," she joked. Elias laughed. "I prefer talking to fighting, but I'm learning." "You will need both," she said seriously. "These times are dangerous." Later that day, a trusted messenger arrived with urgent news. "The traitors have moved," the messenger said breathlessly. "They plan to attack the palace soon." Elias and Thalara exchanged looks. The moment they feared was near. "We must warn the king," Thalara said. They rushed to the throne room where King Zorun waited. His face was grave when they told him what they had learned. "You have done well to uncover this," the king said. "But we must be ready. I will call the guards to protect us." Elias bowed. "We will stand with you, Your Majesty." As night fell, the palace prepared for battle. Guards armed themselves, and loyal nobles gathered. Elias and Thalara stood, side by side on the palace walls, looking out at the dark horizon. The stars above were bright, but the threat below was real. "Do you fear what is coming?" Elias asked. Thalara shook her head. "Fear is for those who have no hope. We have hope." Elias smiled. "Then we fight not just for survival, but for the future." The first signs of trouble came just before dawn. Shadows moved near the palace gates. Silent figures slipped through secret passages. Elias and Thalara led the defense. Thalara's command was clear and strong, inspiring the guards to stand firm. The traitors had expected weakness. Instead, they found fierce resistance. During the fight, Elias noticed a figure moving toward the king's chambers. Without hesitation, he rushed forward. In the dim light, a masked attacker raised a weapon. Elias blocked the strike with a swift move learned from Earth's martial arts. The attacker fled, but the danger was clear. When the battle ended, the palace was safe, for now. Thalara turned to Elias. "You saved the king. You saved us all." Elias shook his head. "We saved each other." They looked at one another, the weight of their partnership growing heavier and stronger. In the days that followed, news of the attack spread across the galaxy. Many were shocked that a human and a scorned princess had uncovered such a plot and stopped it. The Galactic Council could no longer laugh. Elias and Thalara stood together, ready for whatever came next. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity would play a greater role than anyone expected. The palace on Jurak was quieter than usual. The heavy air of tension had settled after the failed attack, but Elias Vorn and Princess Thalara knew the danger was far from over. The shadows within the Galactic Council still moved, and the laughter that once mocked them was now filled with something colder, fear. In the great hall of the council, representatives from many worlds gathered once again. This time their smiles were tighter, their eyes sharper. The previous attacks and the unexpected strength shown by the human and the princess had shaken their confidence. Elias and Thalara entered the hall side by side. Thalara's scaled hands rested lightly on Elias's arm. Together, they appeared stronger than ever. A murmur ran through the crowd. Some looked surprised to see the two together, others looked uneasy. The leader of the council, a tall figure with shimmering blue skin and eyes like liquid silver, rose to speak. "Commander Elias Vorn, Princess Thalara, you have shown remarkable bravery in protecting the Jurak throne." His voice was calm, but Elias could sense the hidden edge beneath his words. "However," the leader continued, "there are concerns about the rapid changes in the council's balance of power." A counselor from a distant star system spoke up. "Is it wise to trust a human who marries into the royal family of Jurak? Humans have been unpredictable in the past." Elias stepped forward. I understand your doubts, but I stand here not as a human alone, but as an ally. Our actions speak louder than words. Thalara's voice rang out beside him, clear and strong. Appearance does not determine worth. Those who laughed before have seen the truth. After the meeting, Elias and Thalara retreated to a private room. Elias looked at her with concern. The council's laughter has stopped, he said. Now it feels like they are waiting for us to fail. Thalara nodded. They fear change. They fear what we represent. What do we do? Elias asked. We prepare, Thalara replied. We show them that strength is not just in tradition, but in unity. Over the next weeks, Elias and Thalara worked tirelessly to build new alliances. They reached out to planets tired of the old council's corruption and fear. They shared evidence of the traitors and their plans. Slowly, some voices began to support them. Yet, opposition grew louder. One night, Elias received a secret message from an unknown source. It warned that a new threat was coming. A group within the council was planning to remove Thalara and Elias by force. Elias showed the message to Thalara. Her face darkened. They want to end us, she said quietly. But we will not fall. The next day, a special session of the Galactic Council was called. The hall was filled with tension as rumors of the threat spread. Elias and Thalara stood firm at the front. The leader of the council addressed the members. We must ensure stability, he said. Any threat to the throne or the council will be dealt with swiftly. Elias spoke up. The greatest threat is fear and division. We must unite, not tear each other apart. Some councilors nodded, but many still looked doubtful. As the meeting ended, Elias and Thalara were approached by a group of younger councilors. We believe in your vision, one said. We want to help. Elias smiled. Together we are stronger. Thalara added. Change will not come easily, but it will come. That evening, Elias and Thalara stood on the palace balcony. The stars shone brightly above Jurak, but the city below was restless. Elias looked at Thalara. You have shown me a new kind of strength, not just power, but courage to face the unknown. Thalara smiled softly. And you have shown me that honor and respect can cross any divide. Suddenly, a messenger arrived with urgent news. Another plot had been discovered. This time, it was closer than ever. The palace prepared for another confrontation. Guards were ready and loyal. Allies stood by Elias and Thalara, but this time they were not just defending a throne. They were defending a future. As the new threat approached, Elias and Thalara knew that the council's laughter was gone forever. It had been replaced by something stronger, respect born from courage and unity. The palace on Jurak was alive, with tension. Commander Elias Vorn and Princess Thalara stood in the war room surrounded by their most trusted allies. The quiet hum of machines and soft voices filled the space, but outside, a storm was gathering. The traitors move faster than we expected, Thalara said, pointing to the holographic map of the palace and surrounding city. They plan to strike during the next council session. Elias frowned, his fingers tapping on the table. If they succeed, the entire galaxy will fall into chaos. Thalara nodded. We cannot let that happen. The day of the council session arrived. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered in the Great Hall. The atmosphere was heavy with suspicion. Many eyes watched Elias and Thalara as they entered, whispering and casting doubtful glances. Elias felt the weight of their judgment but kept his head high. He was not just a human anymore. He was the husband of a princess, a protector of peace. As the session began, the leader of the council spoke. We gathered to discuss the future of the galaxy, but first we must ensure our safety. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the hall. The doors locked shut. Panic spread as security teams moved. To protect the members, Elias grabbed Thalara's hand. They're attacking. Outside the hall, masked figures slipped through secret tunnels beneath the palace. Their weapons were silent, their steps quick. Their goal was clear: capture the king and his family, seize control of the council. But Elias and Thalara were ready. With the help of loyal guards, they fought back. Thalara's voice rang out, directing troops with calm authority. Elias used his training to block attacks and protect those nearby. The battle was fierce but brief. The attackers were skilled, but they underestimated the unity between Elias and Thalara. In the midst of the chaos, Elias noticed a figure moving toward the king's chambers. Without hesitation, he pursued. The corridor was dark and narrow. Elias's heart pounded as he caught sight of the masked attacker aiming a weapon at the king's door. Elias sprang forward, tackling the figure to the ground. They struggled, but Elias's training gave him the edge. He disarmed the attacker and held him until guards arrived. Back in the great hall, Thalara stood tall as she addressed the council members. "This attack proves what we have said all along," she declared. "The galaxy's future depends on unity, not division. Those who seek power through violence will fail." Her words echoed through the hall, silencing the whispers and doubts. The traitors were arrested, their plans exposed to the entire galaxy. The council watched in shock as evidence of the conspiracy was shared openly. Many realized that the human and the ugly princess had saved not only the Jurak throne, but the very peace they all depended on. After the session, Elias and Thalara stood on the palace balcony watching the stars above Jurak. Elias spoke softly. "The galaxy has seen us for who we really are, not by looks or titles, but by our actions." Thalara smiled, her golden eyes shining. "We have won today, but our journey is just beginning." Together, they faced the future, stronger, united, and ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The palace on Jurak was brighter than it had been in weeks. After the failed coup and the exposure of traitors, a new energy filled the halls. Commander Elias Vorn and Princess Thalara stood before a crowd of nobles, diplomats, and citizens gathered for an important announcement. King Zorun, Thalara's father, had decided it was time for change. He looked at his daughter and the human beside her with pride. "The galaxy has seen strength and courage in unexpected places," the king said in his deep, powerful voice. "It is time to embrace that strength and build a future for all." He turned to Thalara. "My daughter shall be the new queen of Jurak." The room filled with murmurs. Some were surprised, others skeptical. Then the king spoke again. "And her consort, Commander Elias Vorn, shall share the throne with her." Gasps echoed. A human, now co-ruler of the Jurak Empire? Many had not expected this. Thalara stepped forward, her scaled hands raised slightly. "I accept this responsibility with honor. Together we will bring a new era of unity to our people and the galaxy." Elias stood beside her, proud and calm. "We will build a future where all are judged by their actions, not their appearances." In the days that followed, the palace became a place of activity and hope. Elias and Thalara worked side by side, meeting with leaders from different planets and species. They spoke about cooperation, respect, and the importance of seeing beyond old prejudices. Some nobles were slow to change. They whispered about the human consort and the ugly princess ruling Jurak. But many others listened and began to support the new ideas. Elias remembered his early days on Earth when people from different countries learned to work together. He saw the same hope in the faces of those around him. One afternoon, Elias and Thalara visited a school for young Jurak children. The children were curious about the human who now ruled alongside their princess. A small child raised a hand and asked, "Why did you marry our princess if she looks different?" Elias smiled gently. "Because she is brave and kind. Her strength is not in how she looks, but in her heart." Thalara nodded. "And I married him because he respects and believes in me." The children listened quietly, some smiling for the first time at the idea that differences could be good. While progress was being made, Elias and Thalara knew that challenges remained. Some planets still resisted change, and old enemies watched closely. One evening, Elias met with Thalara in the palace gardens. The stars twinkled above, but the night felt heavy. "Do you ever worry about what comes next?" Elias asked. Thalara looked up at the sky. Of course, but we cannot let fear stop us. We have already changed the course of history, Elias said. Together we can do even more. She smiled softly. Then let us face the future with courage. As queen, Thalara began to introduce new laws that encouraged equality and cooperation. She invited representatives from all species to help govern the empire, creating a council that valued ideas over appearance. Elias supported her every step of the way, using his experience with the Galactic Council to guide decisions. Slowly but surely the galaxy began to see a new kind of royalty, one based on respect, honor, and unity. News of the changes spread far beyond Jurak. Other planets sent envoys to learn from the new leadership. Humans, once underestimated, became respected partners in galactic affairs. At the center of it all stood Elias and Thalara, a human and a princess who had defied expectations and reshaped their world. One day, during a ceremony in the palace, King Zorun spoke again. "Let this day mark the beginning of a new age, an age where all beings, no matter their appearance or origin, can rise by their merit and courage." The crowd erupted in applause. Elias and Thalara held hands, their bond stronger than ever. As they looked out at the gathered crowd, Elias whispered to Thalara, "We have come far, but this is only the beginning." Thalara squeezed his hand. "Together, we will build a galaxy where no one is judged by their looks, but by their heart and actions." The future was bright, a future where humanity's true strength shone. The day had finally come. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was filled to capacity with representatives from hundreds of planets. The air buzzed with excitement and curiosity. Today, the Council would officially recognize the new rulers of the Jurak Empire. Queen Thalara and her consort, Commander Elias Vorn. The room was different from the last sessions Elias had attended. Gone were the whispers and mocking glances. Today, respect filled the space. Many eyes now looked upon the human and the Jurak princess with admiration. As Elias and Thalara entered, the crowd rose to their feet in applause. The once ugly princess walked proudly beside Elias, who wore the traditional royal robes of Jurak, scaled and shining under the bright lights. Elias felt a calm strength within him. The journey had been long and difficult, but they had reached this moment together. The leader of the Galactic Council, the tall figure with shimmering blue skin, stepped forward. "Today," he began, "we honor Queen Thalara and consort Elias Vorn. They have shown us that true leadership comes not from appearances or old traditions, but from courage, wisdom, and unity." He paused, looking directly at Elias. "Commander Vorn, you have brought honor to humanity and shown that respect can cross any boundary." Elias bowed slightly. "Thank you, honored members of the Council. I stand here not for myself, but for all who believe in a galaxy united by strength of heart." Thalara took her place beside Elias, her golden eyes shining. "We have faced fear, scorn, and danger," she said, "but we chose to stand together. Together, we will build a future where no one is judged by their looks or origin, but by their deeds." Her words echoed through the hall, touching hearts. The ceremony continued with the council members one by one stepping forward to pledge their support. What was once mockery had turned to respect, then to trust. As the final vote was counted, the decision was clear. Thalara and Elias would lead the Jurak Empire and play a vital role in shaping the galaxy's future. Later, as the crowd dispersed, Elias and Thalara stood on a balcony overlooking the city of Jurak. The stars twinkled above, bright and endless. Thalara smiled. "Do you remember when the council laughed at us?" Elias chuckled softly. "I do. They forgot one thing. Love and courage are the greatest weapons." She leaned into him. "We have the last laugh now." Days passed and the new leadership began its work. Elias and Thalara traveled across planets, meeting people from many worlds. They listened, learned, and shared their vision of a galaxy united. Where once there was fear of the unknown, now there was hope. One afternoon, Elias stood beside Thalara as they watched children from different species play together in a park on Jurak. The children laughed and shared stories, unaware of the divisions that once separated their worlds. "This is why we fight," Elias said quietly. Thalara nodded. "For a future where all can live in peace and friendship." News of their leadership spread quickly. Other planets began to follow their example, breaking down barriers and opening their hearts to others. Humans became respected partners, and the Jurak Empire grew stronger, not because of fear or power, but because of trust and unity. As the sun set over the palace, Elias and Thalara returned to their chambers. They looked at each other, knowing the journey had changed them both. "You were right," Elias said. "Strength comes from within." "And from standing together," Thalara added. They held hands, ready for whatever the future would bring. The galaxy had once mocked a human who married an ugly princess. Now it celebrated two leaders who had shown that true beauty lies in courage, honor, and love. And so, the last laugh belonged to them, a human and a princess who changed the stars forever.